Hello, my great friends. I am really excited to be here with you today. Today's lesson to get out of the porta potty is going to be a doozy. I know it's a doozy because I used to suffer from it myself. Studied lots of thought leaders over the years, and they said the best way to live is that to think about when you come into the world, you are the one that's crying and everyone else is screaming. And they say, live your life in a fashion where when you leave, you're smiling and they're all the ones crying. Sounds simple enough. So why don't people do it? Why don't people do it? I've been coaching people for over a decade. And one of the big reasons is an avoidance technique. And it's something that most of you probably refer to as excuses. And in all of my years of coaching people, I have heard two doozies. The first one that I hear all the time is, I don't want to change. I don't want to change. And I don't believe it. I believe people actually love changing at their core. We look at the statistics for New Year's resolutions as an example, and 9 out of 10 people, they set a New Year's resolution. Exciting. The downside, of course, is 99.9% of those have quit within 1 week, and that is where the lesson lies. What people really hate isn't change, they hate transition. So I love to tell people a little story that always resonates with them, that helps them look at life in a different way. 2000, Apple released a technology that crushed things. It changed the way everyone listens to music. This whole idea of 1,000 songs in your pocket. In 2000, they released the iPod. Giant hit. But what people don't know is that 3 months before the iPod Generation 1 came out, Mr. Jobs got his designers and engineers together and he said, we need to come up with Generation 2 iPod. And then a little over a year later, Generation 2 iPod came out. People lined up to get it. And then several months after that, Generation 3 iPod came out. People lined up to get it. And then another, I think it was 5 or 6 months after Generation 3 iPod came out, Generation 4 iPod came out. People lined up to get the latest technology. The important part of the story isn't that Apple did that. It's what happens next. 5 months after Apple released Generation 4 iPod, Microsoft finally released its competing technology. Do any of you out there know what that competing technology was called? Now that's my point. Most people have long forgotten. Microsoft, a great company. They'd like to have a do-over on that one. But Microsoft's competing technology was something called the Zune. Do any of you out there in the viewing audience have a Zune? If so, I'd love to know in the comments. In all my years of knowing people, and it's been many, I've known one person that had a Zune, very close to me, just so happens to be my dad. It was a Christmas gift. It still never come out of the box. Now, the reality is this. In our lives, we have to go out and look for transition like Apple looks for transition. That is a best practice. Life is transition. And one of the things that we have to transition on is letting go of our pain, because that's what really holds us back. And if we are unwilling to let go and transition, I like to refer to those people as the Blockbuster Video of human beings, because that is exactly what will become of you. So go out, don't make excuses that you don't want to change, don't make excuses that you can't transition, don't be a human Zune, don't be a Blockbuster of human beings. What's the danger in transitioning if your life isn't where you want it to be? And that kind of leads into first a quote by Henry David Thoreau. He said, most men and women would lead lives of quiet desperation. He said that over 150 years ago. I don't think he would change his mind today. And that leads into the second excuse. Coached thousands of people over the years, and it seems like The first half of people's lives, they say, I'm too young. And then the second half of their lives, they say, I'm too old. So we spend the first half of our lives saying we're too young, and then the second half of our lives saying we're too old to go out and live our dreams. And I like to just remind people, we are all created equal. Tiger Woods, he broke par for 9 holes at age 3. This famous writer, Henry David Thoreau, age 11, he dropped out of school to go work in a factory to paint labels on shoe polish cans so he could get his father out of debtor's prison. And he still became one of the great authors of all time. One of my personal favorites as a father, Anne Frank wrote her diaries at age 13. Gave a heck of a lot of people a different perspective on things. Joe DiMaggio, age 28, learned this one from my mentor, Matthew. Hit safely for 56 games in a row without the use of steroids. Sir Winston Churchill, age 65, he picked a fight with Adolf Hitler. Most people at age 65 are sitting on their rocker. But he did what he knew had to be done. Are you doing what you know has to be done? Benjamin Franklin, age 79, invented bifocals. Thomas Jefferson, going to go backtrack a little bit here. Age 33, he wrote the Declaration of Independence, and he did it without the usage of a safe space. DeAndre Unitas ran his very first marathon at 98. Richie Arroyo climbed Mount Fuji at 100. For the rest of your life, promise me, you're never going to say, I'm too young. You're never going to say, I'm too old. Why? Because your time is now. Let me repeat that. Your time is now. When is your time? Your time is now. Stop contemplating what isn't possible, because with God, all things are possible. Your time is now.
My dad and I want your time to be now. Please hit like and subscribe for weekly content.